Hello and welcome. So I'm back on my Paladin again. I have been busy and leveling, and when I reached level 70 I thought the end is in sight. I can just do the Boston Southern Front and grind on my way to 80, and I haven't even set foot in air yet and I'm 75. One thing I haven't done, which I have done with the other tank classes, is of course go through the trust system and try out some of the Shadowbringers dungeons. Today I'm going to try Dohn Mheg, and let's get in there. Now I'm doing these out of order. I could do Holminster Switch as well, but that's not my favourite and I'm not really in the mood for it. So the much prettier Dohn Mheg, look at this. Wouldn't you rather be here? Alright, I am totally prepared, of course. Food. Do I have any tank food? That will do. I don't know what it is, but I'm eating it. I'm eating it. I've got a few more button suppressants last time, and I don't know what any of them do. Figure it out on the way. Attack! Wrong bottom already. Doesn't matter. And who's healer for today? It's Elfinold, isn't it? I will try to remember to use cooldowns. Emphasis on the try. And my combos are really bad. Why am I going out of order? Never mind. Shouldn't matter too much this early on. Now this isn't really for experience. The experience in these dungeons is rather poor in general. So this is more just for, well, for fun really. Get a bit of equipment as well, although I'm already on the Katana Ravel, the 75 dungeon equipment. I should switch to one at a time now, shouldn't I? Doesn't matter. So since I'm on the 75 equipment already, the level 73 equipment that drops here, I don't need either really. I presume I don't care about the looks because I didn't bother keeping the earlier ones, it looks like. I forgot I got a gap closer now, haven't I? I haven't used it. So that's a recent addition to my toolbox. I probably should use a cooldown. Now the other day I did something unspeakable. I joined a real party for content, and I didn't totally suck. Now it was with the free company, so it's not like total strangers. And yeah, my heart sank when I saw which dungeon popped up in Leveling Roulette. Everyone's favourite A Realm Reborn dungeon, Aurum Vale. Aurum Vale broke me as a healer. Was it going to break me as a tank? It didn't, but I suppose it helps that people actually knew what they were doing and didn't mess up too much. If at all, actually. You know, went quite smoothly, no deaths or anything like that. Oh, my favourite bit now. First person view. No, it's too slow. I was hoping it would, no, wrong button. How do I get out? There we are. Boom! And yeah, cooldown might help. And this is a short duration one. I presume it's intended for use in like tank busters and things, rather than just like taking the edge off a mob pack like this. What's that button there? Oh, that's the shieldy wingy thing, isn't it? In case anyone doesn't know what it is, it's that thing. Don't really need it for this dungeon. I mean, for quite a lot of the skills, it's... I guess I'm a bit of a more binary thinking. It's like it makes a big difference or it makes no difference at all. And a small difference might as well be no difference. So like the 5% here, 10% there isn't a huge amount. What's that one rated at? Suffer only 85%, so a 15% reduction in damage. That's... yeah. You're probably going to survive it anyway. It just takes a bit of edge off. Maybe, you know, if you're really on the limit, maybe it's got some use then. Should push one of those buttons. I should push a different button. I really messed that up. So does stun work on as an interrupt or not? Or do I have to use... I was looking for that button. Interrupts use of target's action. I would have thought a stun would be pretty interrupting as well. But maybe not. Anyway, I said the dungeon I did was Aurum Vale, but it wasn't the only content. Afterwards, everyone went, let's do a Alliance raid as well. And I was thinking, like, do I want to go in an Alliance raid as a tank? And it was pointed out to me, because of other people in the party we were joining as, it would be a level 51 anyway. So they're quite cheesable. I took the chance, it was okay. We got, I can't remember what it's called now. Which one's which? The blue one. Is that Crystal Tower? I've forgotten the names. It's not Labyrinth of the Ancients. What's the name of the other one? My mind's gone blank. Anyway, it wasn't too bad, because generally speaking, you only had one tank needed for the boss. Let's do the tank thing. Point away from party. Nearly failed tank 101 there. And that's the tank buster, isn't it? So I'll just use the short cooldown. Again, I don't really think it makes a huge difference, but it just takes a little edge off it. Trying to be kind to the healer. My least favourite bit, which is dodging the puddly things. Are we done? I mean, one of the things is when you analyse it, most of the content comes down to don't get hit by stuff, hit the thing until it stops doing things. So it's not a huge amount of variation in that sense, but that dodging was just not my favourite of the lot. Yeah, so the Alliance raid and the other one, they were okay. I mean, I wouldn't want to do... I'm not sure I would be up to doing, say, the level 70 raids as a tank. Not got that level of confidence yet, because I think they're still hurty enough you actually have to know what you're doing. Oh, I don't like this. That was my fault. I hit the wrong button, got distracted, and everything went pear-shaped from there. Just die already. Have to go all the way back there. I really wish they would move other than to like a preset position. It would be nice. But I guess from the programming perspective, moving them into a fixed position is more, I suppose, reliable than some AI that might screw up if you try to make them smarter. Like if you make them run towards a tank, what if a tank, say, runs away? Would you continuously follow them? Could you end up in a silly location? What happens when a tank dies? You know, you get all sorts of things like that potentially happening. I forgot to run again. At least it's on the last one. It's not like I'm totally dead or anything. Yet. I'll take it. Actually, before I open that... Screenshot time, come on, people, turn around. Oh, that'll do. See which one I pick for the thumbnail later. I do find it a bit annoying when I forget to take a screenshot. Either I then have to try to find a frame from the recording or go back in again and make a new. Too many cooldowns, but at least I'm not going to get hurt, I suppose. Nearly didn't see that AoE there. I wonder if that orange colour was chosen on purpose, because it is probably one of the least visible colours they could have chosen for use. It's not as bad as like on a map, because that orange on that yellow is practically invisible unless it's quite large, zoomed in. Really wish they let you customise it, or maybe like have two different contrasting colours at the same time, so that no matter the background it will show up better. You know, if you can imagine maybe like an orange and green or orange and blue checkerboard or something, that would have like a high contrast. It'd be quite unlikely for the environment to mask that much. You can tell the dungeon's exciting when I just notice the background there. It looks quite scenic, doesn't it? Never noticed that before. Probably because I never had reason to look in that direction before. What about this side? Waterfall? Nice little flowery hill. Yeah. I suppose that's a good thing, because if you're panicking and thinking like, I don't have enough brain power to absorb what I'm doing, you don't have time to look around. I suppose I should be a good tank and take this off. Yeah, if you're absolutely focused on the content and you don't have any spare brain capacity, you can't really look around. So is that a sign I'm getting more confident in doing things like this? You know, as long as it doesn't end up with me going like, oh, that's pretty, and then I take a tank buster to the face. Or a stack of AoEs, that's always fun. So yeah, not bad at all. Let's see what else is going on in the world. I think I mentioned in a previous video I won an Intel CPU in a competition, and I had a shipping, I don't know what you call it now, notification, that's the word I'm looking for. I had a shipping notification last week, and I don't recognise the company it's coming from, and it's coming from the US. So I'm not expecting anything, and I'm getting something from the US, and I'm thinking it must be that CPU, because they did say they were going to notify once it's shipped. Now, the tracking as it came in on Friday suggested it would be delivered today, but when I checked the tracking today, nothing has changed. So what I think happened was, sometime on Friday, someone created a shipping label and put it on the system, hence I got the notification I had a item incoming, but I don't believe they've actually physically sent the item yet. so it will probably take a few days to get here from the US to the UK from when they send it, and then I'll have a brand spanking new i5 10600 no suffix, I believe it was. It's a bit of a side grade from the CPU I got in the system I'm using right this moment, which is the 8086K. If you look at the boost and turbo and bass and whatever frequencies, they are pretty close to each other. So I wouldn't... let's correct myself slightly there. The base clock is a lot lower because the new CPU is 65 watt TDP and my current one is 95, I think. But the all-core turbo and the single-core turbo are pretty close to each other. So as long as the cooling is adequate and it's not power limiting, they should perform pretty similarly. This is another favourite location for photos I had. Nice. Anyway, so I'm going to use that CPU as the basis of my TV gaming build. Currently that has a 7920X in it, so that's a 12-core CPU, and you might be thinking, why would I change from a 12-core CPU to a 6-core CPU? Isn't a 12-core better? More cores must be better. And if all else were equal, that could be the case, but all else isn't equal. It's a Skylake X CPU, and they have never been known to be that great for gaming. Again, not that they can't game, but they're just not the best choice. Now, because they were developed as a server CPU at first, and then sort of like repackaged for the high-end desktop space, they inherit the server Skylake CPU behaviour, not the consumer ones, and the difference is in the level 3 cache mainly, and the ring cache using consumer CPUs just work better for most consumer workloads like gaming. The mesh cache allows the CPUs to scale up bigger, but if you're not actually using the CPU in that way, it doesn't work as well. I mean, you could argue if it's latency or bandwidth or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just in practice, it doesn't work as well. So that 12-core CPU is quite a bit worse than the 6-core I currently use here. And an indirect part is as well, the more cores you have, generally speaking, the lower they will run, especially if running at the same time. So once you put everything together, it's just not that brilliant for gaming use case. So I think the 6-core will probably allow quite an improvement over that. And the competition, as far as I understand, I'm only winning a CPU, nothing else. It would be... right, now this is where I'm wondering, am I taking the right tether? I've just got to think about this first. Now this is one of the examples of when the NPCs take fixed position I mentioned earlier. So you've got to work with them, you can't fight them. If they want a tether, they take the tether, you take a different one. And then everything's fine after that. If you pick one and stick with it, even though the NPC wants it, you're going to have a bad time. Don't argue with the NPCs. Where was I? The CPU... yeah, all I'm getting is the CPU. I can recycle parts from other systems to build a PC, except for one part, and that one part is the motherboard. I do not have a compatible motherboard. Did I just eat that? Bad opener, why can't you get yourself out faster? Anyway, where was I? So I need to buy a motherboard to go with the CPU. In the past I've had problems with stability when running certain workloads. So they might be okay for casual use, for gaming maybe, but not every single use. And I suspect it's to do with the power delivery of motherboards. The cheaper ones might just not be a high enough grade, even for stock running of a CPU. So if I'm going to buy a motherboard, I want to buy a good one, even if it's more than technically necessary. That's better. That was a close one. I thought I was in line of it, but it wasn't picking it up until I ran out in it again. Now the question remains, which motherboard do I go for? I've decided I want an overclocking one, even though it's not an overclocking CPU. Purely because if I want to tinker with it at all, it just gives you more control. So that means I have to get a Z490 motherboard. Okay, so far. This is going to hurt again. Alpha Node, you're hopeless. Now, motherboards, maybe I'm getting old, motherboards have gone up in price. I remember when, like, an average board, not the best, but okay board, was about £100 for an overclocking board. This is not just for any old board, for an overclocking board. And if you want a higher end one, maybe 150, without going into the, like, money no objective, insane bonkers ones. Nowadays, it looks like a cheap and nasty one is about 100 that you probably don't want to buy at all. 150 is sort of like, yeah, kind of getting okay-ish, I suppose. And then 200-ish is about where the quality starts to become noticeable. And that's my dilemma at the moment, really, which is how much do I really want to spend on a motherboard? The CPU itself, I can't remember the exact number, it retails for somewhere just above £200. And two motherboards I'm looking at the moment, one of them's selling for 185-ish and the other one's selling about 230. The 230 one is undoubtedly better than the 185 one, but the question in my mind is it the £45 difference better? Bearing in mind I'm getting a non-overclocking CPU that I'm not overclocking. I'm thinking the 185 will do, but will there always be that little thing in the back of my head going like I should have bought the higher spec one? If I buy the higher spec one, I'll be sorted for the future as well if I switch the CPU to something a bit more demanding. Or at least be more ready for it, let's put it that way. Because I suppose that's the other thing. The price difference, I can afford the price difference, but it still comes down to should I? Because you could doesn't mean you should. So I'm undecided on that part. I'll probably make the final decision once I have the physical CPU in my hands. Just in case the package isn't actually a CPU that I think it is, and it's something else I totally forgot about separately. You know, just like things like that. So I can delay it. You know, maybe it arrives in the next week or so. Who knows? I've got plenty of other things to do as well. My main time sink at the moment, I think, is Yakuza Like a Dragon. I love the game. I debated making a video on it, but I haven't decided what yet, because it's a single-player story-led game, and I don't see myself as doing, you know, a playthrough video. There's plenty of other people doing that. I just want to play the game my way in a chillax environment. You know, I don't need or want to, like, if I stream it, then I feel myself being obliged to do things in a certain other way. So, like, if I'm playing it for myself, I can waste time just like farming something if I want, or just get distracted by a side quest or whatever. But if I'm streaming, I don't know, would the mindset be different? I suppose I should say at this point I still haven't streamed ever. I've only ever made offline videos like this. By make offline I mean it's, you know, I'm making a recording as I play, but this is not going anywhere other than my hard disk at the moment. I say hard disk, SSD, but you know what I mean. It's on local storage. It's not being broadcast. If I don't like something, I can edit it out, although for most dungeon run-throughs, there's usually very little editing that I need or want to do. That's good for me in a way. It's a time saver. Whereas, you know, if I try to stitch it together or dub over it afterwards, that really significantly increases the time load. So, you know, I find it quite interesting to just give my thoughts as I go along, like I am doing now. And I do wonder if streaming would be something like that. But all the same, if I'm giving a commentary, I would be playing the game in a different way than I would if I'm playing solo. Unless I do a no commentary playthrough, but again, there's people doing that already, and you know, where's my value add if I'm just playing the game? There's no reason to choose my video over someone else's video if you're not going to, you know, give some additional input, let's say. Value add. It's interesting enough already. As of the time of making this video, my YouTube videos, let's say, are not exactly getting the highest number of views. If they get past single digit, I consider it a major win. Let's put it that way. So if you are watching it and you have got this far, thank you. And if you haven't watched it, there's no point me saying anything about it because you're not going to see it anyway. I do wonder at times as well, what is my thinking for this content? I'm playing the game, yes, you can see that. I'm not really commentating too much on the gameplay mechanics, especially since I've done this many a time before, and it's probably nothing new for most. Is that the warrior weapon? Just checking what I got. Oh, have I got that already? Even if I have, it looks boring. Final boss. Yep. So where was I? You know, what is the goal of these videos? It's not really instructional for either the dungeon or the class. I'm doing it because I like to do it. What else is there? I'm giving random thoughts as well on non-game related content. Does anyone care? Is it interesting? Having a bit of brain freeze here. Actually, I have to think about some of these mechanics if I don't want to die. And I really don't want to die. Is this the bit where it goes, yeah, oh, I don't like this bit. I think when you take Thancred, he uses a gap closer there, but I think when I tried it before I just fell off. So I don't know if it's class dependent or if it's just a fix in the game or something else. Anyway, even if it takes a little bit longer, that way's safe enough and there's plenty of time anyway. How does a carbuncle do that? It's just hovering in midair. Yeah, took your time, didn't you, Ophenol? And Reem, you weren't any better. Tentacle monster time. Run! Watch where you're waving those tentacles. How are things looking? Everyone's still okay? Everything's fine? Don't panic, everything's okay. This is the bit where it spams that over and over. The answer's no, so I'll just waste that cooldown. Oh, this is the bit I was thinking of. Never mind. I need to climb a new sword, don't I? Don't like the curve one, which is the 75 dungeon one, I think. Yeah. Or do I just hold out for 80 since it's not far off anyway? How long is the cooldown on that? 6 seconds. Not cooldown, sorry, the effective duration. I'm always a little bit concerned I might start it a little bit too early, and you know, it'd be embarrassing if it wears off before it actually needs to do something. And we're done. What's in the box? Don Trellis. Oh, is that the nice flowery archy thing? That's the first time I've seen it drop, actually. Okay, I think we're done here. Thanks for watching and see you next time.